everybody. Good afternoon. Yeah, that's wonderful. Welcome, come on in.
Just sit on the floor.
Yeah, please take a seat wherever we have space, including the yellow seat. Who is the one on the yellow seat? Good afternoon to everybody online as well. I know there are about 7 million viewers perhaps because there are that many number of followers on our websites. Welcome everybody. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Should we get started? I know there are more guests. Welcome. Come in.
Come in, come here.
Look.
I think just they don't need to stand in front of the camera. They don't need to stand in front of the camera. If people are standing in front of the camera, they think
I think yes, just the camera. Do you want to come ahead in the front?
go and sit in the front. It's like your picnic.
Just so you know the audience well, how many greens are there in the room? Any guesses? How many are wearing greens? How many? 1, 2, 3, and green feathers in particular? There you go, just one. Oh, there you go. You know what I feel like looking at the energy in this room? I feel like a bird with my wings wide open to absolutely get this energy on me. How vibrant does this room look like today? Wonderful. Wow. Okay. Please come on in. Such a pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much for having us, particularly when you're celebrating the 10th year. I think it's such a privilege and such an honor to be here today, right? And most importantly, I certainly want to thank Ellen Eriksson, Sarah Sederberg, and Asa Johansson for pushing ahead, and her crew, and an entire crew, truly, for pushing ahead such an important vision, right? And driving this year on year, 10 years in a row. So a big, huge hand of applause to them. Wonderful. And more importantly, to each of you in this room, for this collaborative leadership, but being here, being that change. So it's fantastic to have all of you here, and a huge applause to each of you here in this room as well, and to all the viewers. And I'm told Brittany is here, and I'm told there are a number of viewers online, so to all the viewers out there as well, a big hand of applause to all of you. Wonderful. So I know each of you have a story to tell, and I do as well. Growing up, now of course you can do your math, maybe about 27, 28 years back when I was 15. So there was a lot of resistance, right, in terms of, hey, how much should we invest in her? Does she really need to get into tech? So they were, and you know what? Looking back, I thank those silent motivators. I truly call them silent motivators. I went on to do my computer science engineering. I went on to get into the Indian Navy through Short Service Commission, and that's one of the toughest ways of actually getting into the engineering field there. Went on to do my PhD in computer science, was sponsored partly by the global tech companies like Intel, SAP Labs, and today I'm representing Infosys, one of the global organizations who has invested so much in me. I'm almost 17, 18 years with the organization. Fast forwarding, in our careers today, again, we have different kind of challenges. But it's the art of navigation, isn't it? I call it a game of chess, your next best move. So, like I have my own story, I'm sure each of you have your own stories. I'm the moderator today for this panel, and the panel is called Breaking Barriers and Leading Fearlessly. I welcome my most esteemed guest out here, Dr. Marguerite. And I'm sure each of you would have seen about her profile as well, but I'm very happy to, in fact, Marguerite did mention to me as well that, look, you can certainly connect with her anytime that you can. But do look her up on LinkedIn for sure, and I will certainly speak about her in a moment. So Marguerite is the chairman of the executive board of Aon Holdings and Aon Group International, based out of Netherlands, and she's specifically flown in just to address each of you here. She's been on a number of boards, advisory boards, I must say, particularly the Dutch diversity C-suite female empowerment initiatives. She also represents the Kingdom of Netherlands for the G20 for Women Empowerment Alliances as well. She's been recognized on a number of boards, number of accolades. Particularly, she's named as a Women to Watch for the US Magazine in 21 and 22. She was also chosen as a top 50 women to watch as well. A big round of applause to Dr. Marguerite. We have Lotta, and I'm sure a lot of you recognize her very well. She's our local executive, Lotta, Lovén. She's the Chief Information Officer and the Head of Group Channels and Technology at Swedbank. She's known as the brain behind the digital transformation of the bank. Lotta, welcome to you too. I must say, when I was actually having a catch-up with her, what a fearless leader. What a fantastic conversation that I've had. In fact, I'm getting to know all of these leaders in the past 3-4 weeks. It was great interacting with you, I must say. And I certainly want to hear more about what we are doing at Swedbank and how are you contributing back to the society. Wonderful. We then have Johanna there. We go a long way as well. Johanna has been, she is the co-founder and the CEO. She's the founder and the co-CEO of a very Alaika advisories. And she's founded this in about 2000, just about last year. Is that correct? Yes. Just about last year. She's more into advisory, particularly for financial services and insurance. And bless you. And she's the kind of impact that she has had through her advisory role, almost close to how much? 1 billion worth of revenues for FTSE 2000 companies, and that's where she started her career from. And I'm very happy to know that she started her new organization, so wishing you the very best. Wonderful, and joining me, awesome. Then I also have the fantastic Petra. Look at how vibrant she looks on this table today. From SEB, she's the head of technologies, part of a number of executive boards as well, doing a lot contributing to the society. And the best part about her, she's a fierce leader. When I actually had a few conversations, and again, she's one lady who comes with a lot of engineering background, I must say, spent a lot of time in the engineering background. Right? And having said that, she's one key thing that came out during my conversation is how does she really bring the best of people to make an impact through innovation and through technology? And welcome again. Thanks. Wonderful. With that, I'll take my seat. It's not fair, everybody is sitting down. So that said, my question first is to both of you, Petra as well and to Johanna too. So if you look at the European Commission, roughly about 2002 or 2012, they said the number of women in leadership is at about 22%. And then about 8 years later, they presented another report. Sorry, I didn't mean to show my back, but there we are. They said they're about 22, it has moved to about 33%. So that's a great move to the right direction. However, there are a number of other areas that have to be addressed, be it the gender gap, be it the pay parity. Having said that, the question to you, Petra, is what are you particularly doing and SEB particularly doing, right? What more can we do to get women into leadership?
I think one of the things is, of course, to ask the question. I have some occasions where I ask the female colleague, do you want to be a boss? No, why should I? And then we have that conversation, and she has done now 10 terrific years as a boss. And I think sometimes it's really hard in finding role models. So I think sometimes we need to help other girls to find the role models, to see it's fantastic to have a career if you would like to. Another thing that is easy to do, that I do, I ask how many genders have we applying? Oh, we only have one gender. Take another look. Make sure we have applicants for both genders. There are some easy things to do, and just by asking that question, then of course the best person should have the job. But just asking that question makes you search harder, and you have the time to wait. And then I think other easy thing is, of course, to be out in society, meet up with younger girls, females, advice. Anytime I meet a relative's daughter or son, I say, study math. study math, you can do anything in life. You know, you can be an artist, whatever you like, but don't rule that out. And I think we need to also, you know, involve really early on. So you study math and you have all the chances in life, no matter what you want to do.
And what is SCB particularly doing to ensure that they're encouraging women?
I mean,
in leadership
and I
positions?
think we do lots of things. I think now in the Easter we have a code camp. You know, it takes 30 seconds for all the kids to sign up, you know, and of course we, you know, search for all the genders. We do things like pink programming, you know, and that's a volunteering organization. I think it's fantastic. Other girls helping other girls wanting to just understand what tech is, or maybe start a career. There are so many things you can do.
Wonderful. So Johanna, over to you. In terms of your experience, particularly in your profession, right, from an advisory standpoint, do you particularly observe that having women promoted is a bit more difficult?
It depends on the character of the woman, yeah. Of course, some women would never speak up to get promoted. They would never show their experiences in the jobs, their success, etc. And sometimes, especially in large organizations, your bosses don't even know what great work you do. So I really encourage always my team, show up and make sure everyone knows what great work you are doing, yeah. And the other thing is, even for the younger woman, show up and make sure you get coaches during your career. That doesn't need to be another female coach, that can be a man coach or whomever you trust into. But it's, Petra said it rightfully so, we need to help other colleagues to grow and other women and females to grow. But I can only encourage everyone to also look for coaches. That doesn't need to be a coach in your own organization, that can be even outside. But it's super cool to exchange then on a more constant level and get pushed out from those life coaches, business coaches you can also find by yourself.
Wonderful, wonderful. Look, all the four of you are in positions of power, right? Now, from a leadership standpoint, particularly Marguerite, this is for you. In terms of leadership styles, right, how do you ensure that you continue to maintain, be in that position of power, but not or alienate people? How do you really navigate that?
And it's very simple. First and foremost, if you're a leader, it's something you don't call upon yourself.
Perfect.
So it's something which is being called upon because other people are following you. So from time to time, you need to check whether people are still following you. That's by looking over your shoulder and engaging with the people who follow you. Now, those leadership skills which are really important are, at the moment, of course, we've seen that first and foremost, curiosity is important and willingness to learn. And I think all of you here being present today, you're here because you're willing to learn and you're curious. So you came out to Stockholm, and maybe you're all from Stockholm, but you made an effort to be here amongst peers. Other leadership skills, which are identified by one of the management gurus, Daniel Goleman, he says, what makes a leader? And that's, he has pointed out 5. And it's self-awareness, self-reflection, empathy, motivation, and social skills. So I'll repeat: self-awareness, self-reflection, empathy, motivation, social skills. Motivation, all of you, I don't even need to discuss, it's clear. You can really feel the energy. Social skills is what you do today. So make sure, and this was something also Petra and I discussed, make sure that you know the person next to you. You're not here for only knowing yourself, you're here to know others and to make connections with others so you can actually grow together. Empathy is something which I think is really upon us females. So sorry for the man in the room today. There's one. You did really make an effort. And now you're going to be really hurt what I'm going to say next. Because when you talk about self-awareness and self-reflection, this is really important, ladies, because this is often where we actually, as women, go wrong. Now, self-awareness is something, are you aware of your capabilities and do you believe in them? Self-confidence, self-esteem go along with that. Very, very important. And the only person who can believe yourself is you. If you don't believe yourself, why should I? Just, make sure that you believe yourself. Understand that you have your weaknesses and your strengths and accept them. Whatever, live with them. That's life. You can't always be the best. You will not always be the worst. Then on self-reflection. Now this one is really important for women. So often in leadership we think women are worse than men. Now, there are 2 professors, Volkmann and Zenger, they did research, really interesting. Look, the man is looking at me like, what she's going to say. They identified 19 leadership skills and did research on more than 10,360 degrees assessments. And they discovered that out of those 90 leadership skills, and how many were women outperforming men? Giving you the floor. So make a guess. Give me some numbers, please. What do you think? And how many of those leadership skills were women better than men? 75, yeah, so it's so out of the 19. Yeah, so these are, oh, look here, there's a really, so now I need to become the realist. I'm always very positive. But out of 17, where the women were actually better than men, and it wasn't leadership skills, innovation, etc. But 2, and now it gets interesting because we're together in a STEM environment, and 2 women were just slightly worse than men, just slightly, sorry. And that was strategy and STEM.
Okay.
Oh, there's another man there. He didn't dare to speak. Ah, I see you. Yeah, and another one in the back. Oh, 4 or 5. Okay, we do have some men, so good. Now, yeah, the interesting part on strategy and STEM, and this is the serious part. So we need to make sure that, and this is about confidence, and that's why we need to make sure that we increase the confidence of women into going into STEM. And that's why it's important to make sure that those role models, like we have here today from your own country, that they are being more profiled and more prominently made aware of, also in the press, but also by people like yourself. So it'll help other women to stand on your shoulders by being role models yourself. That's my ask to you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marguerite. I must confess, I was having a drink with her last night, and we were just talking about some network, and it was a very quick one because my flight was running late. And she said, Hema, I think you should get connected with A and B. And we probably called it a night at about 11:30 or so, and we're in the same hotel. By 11:40, I see the introductions being done before I could go to bed. So thank you for that. No, and I truly believe in each of us supporting each other, right? And I think we should certainly look up for that, see whatever best we can do and take it from there. But on that note, Lotta, a question to yourself. Again, on the leadership characteristics, right? How do you see your specific leadership style, right? And is it different from your male counterparts?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think so, yes. But I think that, I don't know if that is because I'm a woman or if that is because I'm myself. Awesome. Because I think that in leadership it's really important to not lose yourself and keep your strength and also to keep your what your ambition is and what your passion is. But what I take on in this perspective is that I think that I have a responsibility to encourage women and men to continue in their careers and also develop themselves. And the man over there, he was actually in my team and is one of the driving forces in Swedbank Women in Tech.
Isn't that Greg?
That is Greg.
Nice.
What I see myself as a leader is the one to enable others to do great stuff and set the direction. So I think that about what you talked about, looking if people are following you, that is the most important thing, because it's not you doing the work, it's the people, all the fantastic skills you have combined in your team that actually makes the difference. So as a leader, you need to be open, listen, set the direction, inspire and support. I think that is hugely important. But from the diversity and gender perspective, even though we have come far, in Sweden we actually have, we still have a responsibility to close the gaps. And Petra and you and I discussed this the other day on that in our teams we have, even though we are in tech, I think we have about 50% managers in our units. And I think that is pretty amazing, but that hasn't come for free. We have worked on this one. But when you come to the top positions,
correct.
We're not really there yet. And that I can wonder about, but I think you need to have some self-confidence, believe in yourself and not be scared, and take the opportunity. Because it's only you that can take your opportunities. Me as a leader, I can support you and keep your back, but you need to take your opportunities and driven by passion. So I see myself as a servant leader.
Perfect. That's wonderful, the servant leadership. Fantastic. So on that note, I almost want to stand up and turn my back. Why? Because I want to see all of you following us. But wonderful. On that note, I think, Johanna, here's a question to you. Usually, right, do you find resistance, right, from your colleagues, right, during your leadership and when you execute on, say, your strategy? How do you deal with resistance?
Look, I have an interesting story, and but before I come to that, let me put the opportunity topic on it. I think you all heard a lot how much work we put as leaders into the fact that we need to get equal females and men into leadership positions. So this is a big chance for us girls in the moment, yeah? And I can tell you, in tech or in financial services, yeah, being a girl is a big, big advantage in some areas in the moment, yeah? It's not a negative thing. If you be in a round with 3 men, guess whom they are looking to hire first? It's not the men's, unfortunately, sorry. It's us girls. And we need to see also these benefits and advantages that we have. I think never ever, if I look back into my career, it was so easy for a girl who is similar skilled than a man's to come into a board position. So take the chances. It's a big advantage. Sorry that I had to put that. You want to answer?
Yeah, no, I just want to comment on one thing, and that we often forget, and that is that companies deliver services or products or whatever to the people that are customers. Of course, you want your team to be reflecting your customers, and you don't only have males as customers. You have a diversity in that, and you want to have that as a company as well. So don't forget that.
Look, we are all so energized even here from all of you in the room. Thank you. So you
would like to add something.
look, that's how it is when girls are on the panel.
Girls are having fun.
Yeah, so this is about, so who of you knows Beyoncé? Who doesn't? Come on, ladies.
Come on.
So this is the example you'll never forget about representation matters. So this is the fun part for you because Johanna is from Germany. So Beyoncé declined a deal 3 years ago. She declined a deal with Reebok. That's why she was in the news. She accepted the deal with Adidas, but declined the deal with Reebok. And the interesting part of this was because she said, listen, Reebok, you didn't pitch with the team which represents my norms and values. So he came with an all-white male team to sell my apparel. So no way, she said, I'm declining your offer. And she did accept the deal with Adidas. Now, so why is this such a, and now this is the crux. So this is first and foremost representation matters, but this goes a little bit further. So who knows the secret behind why I'm raising this as well? Nobody? Adidas, Reebok, does ring a bell to any one of you? Okay, so, yes, here you go, Johanna's from Germany. So, Reebok is the subsidiary of Adidas. So, Reebok is a subsidiary of Adidas. So just think out, if you do something right at head office, whether it's in Stockholm, it doesn't mean it's going also well in Göteborg or Linköping or whatever. So that's the deal. So representation matters, but also it's the responsibility of whoever, leadership, sub-management, management, to make sure that strategies in this respect on diversity, act and inclusion are really cascaded down to the lowest ranks so that everybody knows this is important. And clients have the final say, they are accepting you or not because of diversity.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think that's a fantastic practical example, I must say, Marguerite, right? Now that takes me to another very interesting topic. I think every organization, small, medium, large, extra large, complex, whichever type of organizations, you do have power dynamics, you do have power structures, right? So this is a question to Lotta, yourself, as well as to Marguerite, right? How do you really navigate power structures, point number one, and how is it during early years, growing years, and how is it different when you are now in a position of leadership?
I can start on that one. I think financial industry is a top example of male power structures historically, as well, at least. But I have always focused on what I'm going to achieve and deliver for our customers. That has been my one and only passion. And it has actually, if I tell you a few words on my story, about the digital brain, we started off, I'm not in tech, I'm not from tech. I have studied economy. So I came into tech from having a passion on what I could deliver to our customers in digital tools. I understood that the digital revolution was on its way 15 years ago. Started off with a very small team and did a guerrilla launch of our first mobile app, because I knew that I would get no if I asked. But I was a bit fearless, yes I was, but I had a big belief in that I was on the right direction. And I also knew that when I deliver good things, you get recognition. I have trust in that one. And so focus on what you shall achieve, not what career you shall have as the main focus, because if you do good and you deliver good and execute good, you're actually a top performer for the company. So, and that builds your career.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So I already mentioned I'm an optimist. So in every difficulty, I see an opportunity. I can tell you guys, I've seen a lot of difficulties. I had perseverance. So I learned actually the most from my failures. So resilience, a Japanese saying, is 7 times falling down, 8 times standing up. I did stand up 8 times. You know, I broken nose, broken ankles, broken arms, whatever. I think what's important to realize 3 things from an academic perspective. One, there is a confidence gap in women. We already addressed that, so I'm leaving that to you guys. But that's really being shown also in research. We need to overcome this. Ladies, all of you can do whatever you want to do. So strive for perfection, but settle for excellence. Don't overdo it. Strive for perfection, settle for excellence. 1. Second, there is a leadership promotion gap, which is really important to realize. This is what's keeping all of you from promotions. This is research as well. Stanford done. Daniela Lee is a lady, you can Google her. She's a professor at Stanford, done research on this topic. So women have 14% less chance to get promoted for all kinds of reasons. But also because we don't ask. So raise your hand, ask. And engage in conversations. And the third one is the gender pay gap. Also something where we feel like because we don't engage, we don't ask. So I'm really inviting you all, and I think maybe Sweden is a little bit advanced. Some countries are still not very advanced on gender pay gaps. Yeah. But do go to your HR officer now, if you haven't done so, and simply say, I'd like to have a benchmark on my employee conditions. This is the time, so ask for promotion. And this is the time to also make sure your pay is getting to the required level. And I'm not sure at the Swedish numbers, but in the Netherlands, we've calculated that women are simply laying in pension funds. You know, once you retire, women have earned 220,000 euros less than men, which is big also when you have your pension. Then it also affects your pension, etc. So go out, ask, engage with HR, simply ask them a question, can you do a benchmark for me? With the biggest smile. And don't feel afraid asking. This is also, please. So, but I don't know. It's always difficult to compare notes on these things, but I think the most important part is also for the companies, representation from all the companies. Do not think you have the solution for your people in the company, but do engage and ask them what they need. Often we think as leaders we know what they need, but we don't because we didn't ask them.
Wonderful. Before I hand it over to the audience for any questions, I do have a question for you, Petra. So in terms of getting into the right network, being seen in the right network when you're kind of ready for your next promotion, how do you kind of ensure you do that?
First, I must say, I agree with you, Lotta. Make sure you deliver and that your work is seen, that it's your work being recognized. It actually happened to me once. Somebody stole my report to put another name, a higher manager. And that was a learning for me. Could somebody actually do that? And then people say, well, you should holler and say it was your report. And I said, no, it was a tough lessons learned. Next time I will be faster and promote my own work. And I think that is important. Make sure it's known, because I will not be as bad and I will not go and, say you did wrong. But, we are all in different ages. What I say to a lot of people that are younger than myself, use your parents' network or use your friends' parents' network. If you're interested to an industry, I'm quite sure you have a friend having a parent that could introduce you. That is probably the fastest way to do it. I met a guy, and I was actually I wrote on the LinkedIn, how keen I am on mentoring. And then he wrote on my LinkedIn, it was an SEB employee, how could I get the mentor? Take a fika, coffee break with me. And now he knows how to do it. So I think also raise your hand, ask for help. And make sure you have different kind of networks. I have networks with only females. I have with my oldies. I have the ones that are specific in the tech industry. So go into different kind of networks with different kind of people. That will help you career-wise. And maybe you will switch career.
Awesome. And that brings me to a very interesting dimension and a question. We talk about all the nice things that we must do individually, right, to progress in our careers. But what are the few key things? And again, this question is to all four of you, so please decide whoever wants to take it up. What could be those characteristics which we must avoid so that they are not a step for our own failure in our careers? Any behaviors?
Which we should avoid.
Yes.
Complacency and arrogance.
Wonderful.
Don't complain, act.
Don't complain. Wow, was that me? Oh, that one. Is that working?
I don't.
For you? So it's all about don't complain, but act. Shout out loud.
And I would say, don't keep your arm here when you see an opportunity.
Yeah.
Take it.
Perfect.
Yeah, and don't be too hierarchically. All of us leaders can also make mistakes. Yeah, and all of us have different skills. So don't have a fear because there is someone 2 levels up in the rank. If there is an opportunity for you, don't be too hierarchically.
Awesome. So a quick rapid fire questions to anybody here, all right? So tell me any favorite quote that particularly stuck with you, and this to you, Lotta.
A quote.
A quote. A phrase or a quote.
Whoa. Change is the only static.
Fantastic.
Always develop, always challenge.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I always like be bold, be brave, and be brilliant.
Oh, 3 Bs, girls.
That is, we didn't talk to each other, but this was the one I had in my mind.
And be Marguerite.
So I'm sorry for that, but this is exactly what I said. So now I need to have a new quote, yeah? My quote is, take the chances and take your opportunities today, tomorrow, and the day after. Don't stop with it.
Wonderful.
And that was now a Johanna quote, yeah, because I had this one in mind.
She didn't know she'll be getting this question, though. So wonderful. Any fun fact? Anybody, any fun or an embarrassing fact or a fun fact?
I eat candy every day.
I love that.
And the best way to avoid something is to fall for it.
Yes. Oh, that's a good one. Any fun fact?
Yeah, I've how do you call it? I've ridden. What's the English? I've driven a tank.
Oh, she.
I really myself, I'm still proud of it. Seriously, tough job. But women can drive tanks too, so that's just interesting to know.
A tank.
I have been in the World Championship in air ballooning.
Wow.
Wow. You can imagine I've been really new to this startup and founding world, only 6 months through the road. But I made the promise that I go a vertical up race. And you probably know the downhill in Kitzbühel. And vertical up means a lot of very healthy, sporty people run the way up, all the way up in the evening with deep snow. And unfortunately, I said to a certain crowd, I'm going to join you. I thought I'm dying after 1.5 hours. But I managed to make it, yeah? So this again, I can only encourage you. There are certain borders, but you can always make it.
Wonderful. On that note, any questions from the audience? Fantastic.
Hi, I'm Shayna. For all the Swedes in the room, that sounds like Shana. I can totally agree with the, the asking someone for help. So my running joke in Sweden, but this isn't even a Sweden joke, is Sweden's like the mafia. You need to know someone, marry someone, or murder someone to get in. but once you're in for life. So I totally think that, I haven't murdered anyone yet. But the idea, so I've actually just launched my own company, and it's called Johanna. I'm a human connection as a service, professional wing woman. And I think this idea of being somebody else's wing person is to be able to help other people, because we come from a lot of a me culture, but not a we culture. How do we support and help our fellow person? So I think that's totally right. It's nice to have mentorship programs, but it's also nice for those that aren't in leadership to kind of trickle down so other people can find each other and then introduce, like, have you met Anna? Anna's amazing. Anna's currently on a recalibration journey. Anna needs a role in people. She's an amazing people leader. This is what a wing person does, right? So if you think about adopting that and bringing that into organizations, it'll help everybody lift up, and us women, we're going to run the world. Thank you for being part of Women in Tech. Yeah.
Contribute, fantastic.
No, and she said that earlier. Get to know who is sitting next to you and behind you, and start to network. These kind of events are the easiest ones.
I just want to say that call us, whatever. I always say to my team and everyone I meet, my door is open, you know my email. Just contact me and take a fika. It's good with fika.
So I like very much the analogy with a wingman, but that's because my husband is a pilot, so you've made my day. Seriously. And my first recognition was, okay, it's about Top Gun. I was really having some very interesting visuals. I want to share something else too. I think that all of us have a responsibility to allow other ladies and girls to stand on our shoulders. And this is a quote I want to share with you, which is, be the one you needed when you were younger for someone else. So be the one you need now or when you were younger for someone else. And that's how you can allow others to stand on your shoulders. It's so simple because it doesn't need to be big. We're always talking about big policies. No, we can do something today, this afternoon, tomorrow morning, and help someone. So try to be the one for that other.
I don't know if Julia is here. I met the girl today that is working for Scania, where I used to work before. When she was a youngster in high school, she wanted to try out tech. And we normally didn't bring anyone that young in. But I felt, a female wanting to see what it is. And now, like 10, 15 years later, she's still with Scania, and met her today, super happy. And I think, helping women a bit extra to get that first chance. And that could be the summer job. That could be the master thesis. And all of us could be the ones doing that extra. It doesn't cost the company almost anything to take that first intern. So I think, look on yourself. How many have you helped when they have asked? Or somebody, would you like to work for me? To do a couple of weeks, to do your master thesis, to see a new environment. I think that could help so much to see that it wasn't scary. I had my daughter, was also helping out to see some engineering. And said, oh, I love it. Now she said, I started thinking something else. But just somebody opening up the door to see what is it. Because I think many of us don't have enough role models, so you roll out certain industries.
Be the role model yourself. Build your own platform, girls. Any other questions in the room? Sure.
But the question is, we're all on the positive note here, and this is great. I mean, amazing feminine energy and all that, but I assume that leadership comes at a cost. I mean, being a boss comes with a lot of hard sides, the hard parts of it. So if you could name some of them and how do you tackle that, like I would assume loneliness, or sometimes people don't tell you what they think for real, or maybe other things that you experience in your careers. I mean, that side of the leadership.
I'm very happy to take that question, I must say, because I have been in that place, right? Many a times when you reach that leadership position, at times it can be lonely. And in fact, one of the COOs, she advised to me as well, it's okay to be a bit vulnerable. It's okay to go and create your own boardroom. A boardroom doesn't have to necessarily be people from your office. They can be from your network. Create your own boardroom and go and ask for help. It is absolutely humbling to go and ask for help. So that is what I would suggest, and that is how I am navigating my journey. And it continues.
Can I compliment on that one? Because I also think that I agree with you. There are things that are a bit lonely, or people don't understand that you have a lot of tasks that you do that are not seen or whatever. But what my recipe would be is to ensure that you have the right people around you, to pick the people, your team, and have them close to you, because then you have your family at least more, and then also make sure that they pick their people. Because if you start on putting some culture on that is what you believe in leadership, and drill that one down, you will get an amazing power in an organization to make change.
On that note, wonderful. If there's one question and that's okay.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Perhaps the last question for the day.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm from the association Pink Programming, where we, as Petra Ålund mentioned, we try to make programming awareness for beginners who don't know. So it's quite interesting for me when I go to these events. We hear that, well, the trend is that we get more female into tech, which is the true. But it's on the contrary for the programmers, actually. We are each year actually declining in numbers, and not only women, non-binary and transsexuals as well. And my question is, like, because we know, in fact, that people have, there's between 5 to 7 years that women get tired after having coded for a long time. And the main reason is that they get tired of the male-dominated and toxic world they are working in. Usually there are one female within a team of men. And the second one is that they actually are so good that they get offered managerial positions. So we never get to have that amount of women needed in order to get the diversity view into the idea phase or into the programming phase, which is needed. So my question is now, because every one of you are working in programming is part of tech. It's a huge part of tech. Are you aware of this happening, and what are you doing, mainly to keep, at least I know it's hard for you to maybe do anything about beginners, but to keep the existing developers?
Fantastic question. I know Petra is all ready to go for it.
No, I think you're spot on. We have also seen that, unfortunately, and we are doing different things. One thing is we created a female developers network, and when we had one of those sessions, it was that I'm the only one in my team. I have a hard time to relate to someone, so that let's create a community, because within the company there are more, so you don't feel alone. And I was a bit surprised that it was still that feeling. But what I also recognized that some girls or ladies, they jump too fast on a management career or a leadership career in some sense. And then we try to take the discussion, because when they take it too early, they are not engineer enough to go the whole way. The boys tend to stay longer, meaning they can get the bigger jobs later on. So we try to take that dialogue. It's easy, but some of the girls we actually, approach and say, okay, you pick that. What do you see on your third job? What is your view? It's that. So I think also help girls taking that, because some girls, you don't see that what's happened. When you too fast leave the technical area, you will not be the CEO. You will, miss out, but people will say, oh, she's not techie enough. She's not done enough. So I try really to say, maybe you can go in another skills area. And I think let's ask the questions. What are you aiming for? And then you can aim for something early in your career and change your mind. That doesn't matter. But I think many of us haven't really thought, what are we aiming for in the long run? And I think that is what we can ask.
Wonderful. And I think Lotta has something to add as well.
No, but here I think that we have a responsibility, both from a society perspective, because Petra talked about studying math. I think to demystify tech from young age for girls is important. So those initiatives in society. As a leader in a big company, I think we have a very big responsibility. We have done several things. We have, for example, initiated Swedbank Women in Tech, that started from our CISO initiating women in cybersecurity, that now has grown out to women in tech, and where we have now 800 members, not only women actually, but where we have events and inspiration and development and people. And then we have also started to talk about rotating in roles to extend your know-how. But what is really important as a leader is to ensure that you always have this focus on the mix in teams in place, so you don't end up in being the one and only, like almost a diversity token or something, because that's not such a fun position. So we have full control both over our new hires, but also when we do our salary reviews, that it's equal. So we try to focus on all places we can to build this diversity long term. And I think that's a responsibility we have.
Wonderful. On that note, you heard it all from the trailblazers, right? And these are the ladies, these are the executives. I'm so humbled and I'm very honored to have the four of you as our esteemed guests. Thank you for flying in from across the globe, and of course to the two leaders who are here locally as well. And my takeaway, honestly, is, look, I truly believe the biggest disability is in your minds, right? So I think I use that as my motivation, and we march along together. So a big hand of applause to our guests and to all of you here. And don't leave the room. We all want to take a lovely picture with all of you. We'll have a selfie together. Is that correct? Yes. Wonderful.